Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our esteemed audience all over the world. I'm pleased to introduce this new session that's called Empowered Women, Resilient Businesses, Gender Equality as a Performance Lever. I'd like to introduce you all to the moderator of this session, that is Raquel Lagunas. Raquel is the Global Director of Gender Team in UNDP, and she's a very esteemed partner of ours. Raquel, over to you.
Thank you so much, and a very, very warm welcome to all the participants in this event. It's very special to be here today with all of you, business community, truly committed to the achievement of the SDGs and gender equality. And even more pleasure is to be with our special panelists, who are Ebru Özdemir, chairwoman from Limac Group of companies based in Turkey, Sebastian Zapata, CEO and founder of Elefa from Colombia, Ahmed Sheikha, co-founder and CBO of Brimor in Egypt, and Yasmina Sedman, Chief Partnership Officer of Acumen. So I wanted to share with you a few thoughts, and then we open this for conversation with the panelists and the invitees. So I think that after 1.5 years, right, since COVID pandemic, we all are aware and we all know, and we continue to see how women are experiencing the worst effects, the worst impact of this crisis, despite the central role that they have to fight the crisis and the global pandemic. We see how, in fact, in 2020, women alone lost more than 64 million jobs, which is roughly 800 billion of available income for themselves first, but usually and frequently, many times, also for the communities and their families and their households. So we witness how women are facing a really disproportionate economic impact, since the sectors where they are inserted are in crisis are overrepresented. So they have been facing the worst phase of the crisis, such as retail, tourist services. That's where women are working in many countries. So UNDP really strongly believes that the business sector, all of you, play a key role in ensuring that women co-lead the recovery effort. And I wanted to say, not only participate, engage, they also lead and co-lead the recovery efforts of the pandemic of coronavirus 19, whether it is in developing new propositions, new product, innovative services, whether it is including women, including them in value chains, increasing their spending in women-owned businesses, or also fighting to remove the gender discrimination in the workplace that is so important. So UNDP knows that it's not easy at all, and for sure our panelists will share with us the challenges that they face. It's not easy to move from the commitment to the practice, right? It's about the how to do it. So UNDP supports organizations and private sector companies on this how to do it. So we support business sector through different initiatives. I will mention just 4, and I open the room for the conversation. The first initiative that is at least very close to my heart, I need to say, we started this initiative in Latin America, is the Gender Equality Seal for the private sector. So we support through standards, we support internal transformation, and we support to include regulations around issues like the gender pay gap, sexual harassment, organizational culture, diversity. So through this certification program. Second, we launched this year a global, a regional in Europe, STEM for All platform, that is an online advocacy tool to promote the advancement of women and girls in STEM education and fields. The third initiative, that's why we are here today, right, is the Business Call for Action. That is a global initiative that promotes inclusive businesses, including support women's owners to develop leadership skills Going through also call for the inclusion of women in supply chain, as I was mentioning before. And the last initiative is that we help in countries with SDGs investor mapping. So we map investors and we create opportunities for the investor community to identify, align investment opportunities to SDGs standards and gender equality standards. So in this context, we are really, really excited to discuss with us, with all of you, about your achievements and with the panelists about the challenges, the opportunities, so you can inspire other business companies and other business community here present, inspire on how really together to advance efforts towards making a better world for women. So I will start a first round of questions. I will start with Ebru of the MIR from Limac Group of Companies. So let me go through the question. Ebru, Limac has been taking active part, right, of multiple initiatives to advance gender equality, such as the Gender Equality Seal, the certification, STEM platform for all, Engineer Girls of Turkey. So you are leading the path. Why is gender equality a priority for your organization? And what have you gained along the process? And here I wanted to insist, 3 minutes. I have here a very beautiful card. I am in New York.
Okay.
So this is the Statue of Liberty with an ice cream. So as I see the time flying, I will show you the card, okay? So Ebru, over to you.
Thank you very much. I'll be quick. So honored to speak at the annual forum this year, and thank you for the invitation. I believe there are fantastic opportunities out there for women, and so many people are still unaware about the women, the role that the women play in our society. For example, my field, engineering. Engineers, you design your mobile phones, buildings, computers. They are behind electric cars, but they're always or often dismissed as men. And this is not true, unfortunately. We don't have the luxury to discriminate women, counting 50% of the world's population, despite all the technological achievements we have achieved. That's unsustainable, and that's not acceptable from our side. Because it harms the technological development, it also holds back social and economic progress. Therefore, there needs to be a systematic and sustainable efforts from schools, from universities, from workplaces, from offices, private sector, to encourage the women in all career options, including engineering. Of course, there are a long way to go nationally, regionally, globally, but the challenge is to achieve the gender equality and women's empowerment, simply put. Therefore, there needs to be a common agenda with the ambition of promoting gender equality globally. This is number one priority for me, for you, for all of us. And this is the number one priority for myself personally, because I'm a woman engineer, I'm a civil engineer. I was only one of the few engineering students in my class. And also for our company, where women engineers are still a minority. We, as Limac, our business vision, we carried out in 15 different countries. We are working in Kuwait, in Turkey, in North Macedonia, in Senegal. It's very clear. Every positive impact we create for the societies in which we operate will benefit our businesses and will ensure our long-term sustainability in that country. To that end, we have established Limac Foundation in 2016 in order to strategically manage our social investments. I don't like the word social responsibility project, but I use social investments. As you have said, there are great projects we are running: Engineer Girls of Turkey, Engineering Girls of Kuwait, UNDP Gender Seal Program, STEM for All, and SDG Impact Accelerator as well. With all these projects, we try to contribute to global agenda and global efforts on empowering women. What we have gained along this process, we gained a lot. At the same time, we learned a lot. We have put together great partnerships. We learn from each other. For example, UNDP Turkey. We work very closely with them. We are like a family. And what we have learned, one must be actively involved for the change. This is a true leadership, I believe. Once you have the sincerity, the ambition, and the shared goals, we can make the change together. Thank you.
So thank you so much. It was very compelling because you can see how it comes from a genuine personal commitment with yourself, with your profession, and with the society. So you were linking very nicely positive impact in society, impacts in the business. So thank you so much, Ebru, very inspiring. So we move now to Sebastian Zapata, CEO and founder of Elefa, Colombia. And the question is, we know that Elefa works, right, through a business model based on a network of more than 12,000 women entrepreneurs serving rural communities with essential goods and services. It's very exceptional. Can you describe, Sebastian, how does your empowerment model work? How does an Elefa woman look like? Thank you.
Hello, Raquel, and hello, everyone. It's really an honor and a privilege to share Elefa's story with you. The purpose of our company is to contribute to the fulfillment of the sustainable goals. Number 1, no poverty. Number 5, gender equality. And number 8, decent work and economic growth. And now to your question. 13 million Colombians live in rural areas of the country. That's about a quarter of our population. Of those 13 million, 90% are considered to be poor or vulnerable. This population lacks access to all job opportunities and many essential goods and services that we enjoy in the city. But female population is disproportionately impacted. We know that 60.9% of the female population that's old enough to work is economically inactive. That just means they don't have opportunities. To solve for this, Elefa provides women who live in these communities the opportunity to generate income through a physical catalog of products and services that they can offer to their friends, to their neighbors, and to their family. She sells these products, then she places an order through an app, and we at Elefa receive the order and deliver the goods directly to her house. We do last mile distribution. She takes products to her customers and collects payment from them. She has a 30-day credit to repay the Elefa for the products. On an average, she's making a 22% margin on the products sold. Throughout this process, we offer her training and the opportunity for financial inclusion. The end goal of all this process is provided with a set of tools to empower this woman. So now, Raquel, I want to go to your second question, and it's going to be a bigger perspective of the impact that we're doing. How does an Elefa woman look like? And here I want to talk about Consuelo. Consuelo is our typical woman that works with Elefa. She spent more than 3 years into our program. Consuelo is a mother of 2. She's a 43-year-old woman who lives in a rural town in Colombia, specifically in Montes of Maria. This town was heavily affected by the past Colombian internal conflict. Mm-hmm. Consuelo went to school, but only for 6 years. She takes care of her family and has difficulty finding a job because of her family commitments and lack of scholarity. She didn't have any capital to start a business. Once she joined Elefa, she received a credit as working capital to start selling goods and services. She works very closely to an Elefa coordinator that lives close to her community. This coordinator trains her and provides advice for her business. Today, I'm very pleased to say Consuelo serves more than 16 customers a month, and she was able to increase her family income by 45%, and she's using these resources today to pay for better nutrition for her family and education for her kids.
So thank you so much. It's very illustrative of the interconnection between income and the different spheres of development, no? The impact of an income in education, in nutrition, in empowerment, in self-confidence. I'm sure that Consuelo feels more confident than before. So thank you for helping us to understand how does it work, your initiative. My next question is to Ahmed Sheikha, CBO and co-founder of Brimor in Egypt. So Brimor, as a social commerce platform, is transforming the retail industry in Egypt through the development of world-class technology for local markets. And women play a key part of this success. So the question is, Ahmed, how are you including women in the business model that you are leading? which are the strategies and what is the impact?
Thank you, Raquel, for your question, and I'm honored to be here with such great panelists. First of all, Bremore is a social commerce and parallel distribution platform connecting emerging brand owners with a network of individual sellers who market and sell these products in the local circuits. So it has great similarities with the model of Elefa, with people present on the ground selling online and offline. We took it from a distribution perspective, connecting 300 local suppliers and giving them access to market in areas they could not reach before. And for that matter, we actually developed a network of individual sellers. Currently, we have around 60,000 sellers all over the country. The interesting part here is 92% of these sellers are women. Initially, when we started, we did not really target just explaining the idea and working over. But what we found that actually the deep impact of having women on board and dealing with women as the way they see the opportunity, the way the discipline they have, the energy they have in the market was completely out of our expectations, completely exceeded our expectations. And that's why actually we started focusing mainly on women and focusing mainly to understand how we can help them develop their businesses in a better way. It's very simple. Our sellers receive the products update through the mobile app. They share it on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram, Telegram. And in areas where there's poor internet connectivity, they also get printed versions of the product portfolio. Once they share it, they receive orders from their friends and family and neighbors. They place it on the app and we do the last mile delivery. The way we saw the dedication and the creativity in applying the business and how they grow and how they sell not only to individuals, what we saw recently that they developed a model to reach other retailers, that they use technology actually to upgrade their game. They use technology to do online meetings and manage group selling and teams together. They use technology even to organize their small warehouses that they have in extremely far rural areas. So the way we saw that all of this integrates together and we act as facilitator in between was really an eye-opener for our business model. What we do now is we support them to leverage on technology, on digital marketing, on systems that they can use that can scale their business. Currently, we have sellers that have exceeded $60,000 of monthly sales while they are stay-at-home moms. We have Laila, who has 9 children. Her husband left the house. She takes care of these 9 children. Now she owns her online business. She owns her offline shop. She owns her warehouse, and she owns a system to support all of these transactions to cover an area of 1 million people around her.
That's really impressive, Yasmina. I was going to ask you the follow-up question, how different it is to work with women, but you were kind of pointing out creativity, dedication, energy, fast learners, like in the using new technologies. And the best example is this, Laila. Very impressive. Thank you so much for also inspiring all of us. So we have another round of questions. I invite participants to write in the box and to also ask questions, because the experiences that we have are very, very unique. So Ebru, my question for you now is, we know that for the tourist companies within Limac Group signed a gender loan with Guarantee BBA for over $17 million, and that you will receive interest rate deductions based on the compliance on gender criteria. So that's a very interesting situation. And my question is, can you tell us what a gender loan is and how the gender equality seal methodology in this case has helped you, the company, to access to these funds? And what kind of practices have you put in place? Share with us, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question, because I'm very proud of this loan. We as the whole team put a lot of effort behind it, and it is something very new that was introduced by the Turkish branch of BBVA, the Spanish bank in Turkey, which is Garanti Bank, and it's under the sustainability strategy and full compliance of the UNDP's Gender Equality Seal program. There's always the bank. Everybody thinks how we can actually incentivize the private companies to do more in this. I think this is a result of that effort. And we have started to implement the Gender Equality Seal program at one of our companies, which is Limak Investments, in one of our group companies. We wanted to start at one company level and then move it to the holding level, because under our umbrella, we have more than 130 companies in 15 different countries. So it's easier to create the best practice in one company and then move it and make it bigger in other companies. So we can call this like this is a pilot application. And at Limak, we were very eager to pursue the seal, and we will be the first company actually who will receive the seal in Turkey. This is the reason everybody was very motivated in the team. We worked hard. We work hard with the UNDP Turkey team in order to comply with the measures. We have established the relevant committees. Gender mainstreaming framework was built. Implementation planned. Responsibilities were shared. Expertise was located. So there has been a full guideline that we did a very big roadmap with it. And our gender seal program's 8 pillars based on 52 indicators, and so that we scan the whole company. And this opened actually a new and wonderful windows for us. And it was a very huge advantage for us to start the program in the Limak Investments, because this is one of the companies that we have the most motivated people. And we had the expertise, the methodology, and the systems also was established. So we have already knew what to do, but we actually did or applied how to do it. And Limak tourism companies showed very high levels of determination and enthusiasm. So it was easy for them to do this task as well. And they also had compliance along the process. And so this is the first company actually had the opportunity to get a funding with more favorable terms. This is not a huge difference in the terms, but there's some difference. This is also motivating, so that we promoted the gender equality, and then we were also incentivized for it. So this is the reason I'm very proud for this. And it's not only because we will be the first company in Turkey to receive the seal, but it is also important from the sense that we are creating role models for other companies to do it. So with Garanti BBVA, we also did this, we signed this, and we promoted this in TV programs, in mainstream media, in social media, so that we will create a good example so that the other companies can follow us, not only in Turkey, but also outside Turkey. So from that level, also from that perspective, this is very important, because we have to create role models. It's the same thing in the engineering. If they see it, somebody is doing it, they are more motivated, and they trust themselves more, so that they will be able to do the same way. So it's very important for that to create the best practices and good examples.
And to showcase how gender equality can also lead to an increase of access to funds in this case. So thank you. And now I'm going to ask the question to the real Jasmina Sideman. I was making here a small mistake, but I'm correcting. And Jasmina, Chief Partnership Officer of Acumen. The question for you is, untapping women's potential, either as customers, employees, distributors, has really become more and more crucial, right, for social enterprises that are seeking financial viability, coupled also with social impact goals. So we know that Acumen has made an intentional effort to use gender lens to optimize your business model and your portfolio. So do you want to share with us what have you done so far? What challenges have you encountered in your way? Thank you, Jasmina, and I apologize.
No worries at all. Thank you. And it is such a treat to be here with business leaders, with entrepreneurs. I think at the heart of Acumen's work, it's this belief that we can use market forces, but in a way that actually kind of is in service of trying to create a more just, equitable world where everyone really has an opportunity to live a life of dignity. And so at Acumen, we've been focusing on investing in business models that we think really are putting people at the center, and solving some of the biggest problems of poverty. That is really what we do. And we've got this vision of really finding those role models, those businesses that look at this all very differently. What happens if you really place the end user, the employee at the center, in building a truly inclusive business model? We've invested in about 150 companies who have served over 300 million people. And many of them are creating new markets, right? They're really changing how we think about things like engaging smallholder farmers or increasing productivity for farmers, engaging women in the workforce in new ways. Energy access is a huge focus area for us. And so for us with gender, what we came to realize about 6-7 years ago is that this is something that is so integral to our mission. If we are truly committed to helping people come out of poverty, we have to recognize not only that women face challenges of poverty more extremely than men do, but they're also going to be really critical as we think of how to solve those challenges, right? You can't create workforce solutions that exclude women. We can't create energy solutions that are not accessible to women because we're not actually going to solve the problem. So we've integrated those considerations into how we invest. We've looked at it across the kinds of business models, the ways that companies operate, the products and services that they use. We think employment is obviously a really important way to not only create equity, but to actually transform businesses. We work with a company in West Africa that supports cook stove manufacturing. And their employee base is 50% women, but they draw from that pool to hire managers, to hire folks that are moving up. And we hope ultimately will be leading the energy sector in Africa. So I think it touches every aspect of the business. And that's been for us really powerful because it means that we have to look beyond just counting women in kind of the easy, obvious ways. Of course, we want to see more women leading companies in our portfolio, but we're looking beyond just women as entrepreneurs, women in governance, women in management, women as employees, and how are companies creating opportunities for women through policies and accommodations within their business. So in addition to the capital we bring, we do a lot of post-investment support or technical assistance, and do it often with a gender lens to really help entrepreneurs find those interventions in their business that are going to be material for their financial performance, but that have a gender dimension. And that could be, rethinking products, design, distribution, sales, and marketing with a gender lens to unlock new opportunities. So that's really been, a way for us to be more creative, to be more innovative, but the results are definitely there. We think that we're getting a lot of demand from entrepreneurs who see this as a powerful way to meet their own social mission, but also to enhance their growth.
Small extra bonus. I wanted to ask you, which are the challenges that you face? Because it's very, I think is really very aspirational for all of us to go beyond women's entrepreneurs, right? And see the many dimensions that you have been mentioning here. And I'm very interested in the challenges and how did you overcome the challenges? Thank you.
Yeah. I think one of the big challenges I feel for a lot of entrepreneurs, because they are taking on a major challenge in just building a viable, scalable business that also tackles a problem of poverty, right? When you bring that intention into the business, you may be working with a harder to reach customer. You may be intentionally sourcing employees from groups that are less close to the labor market. So when we talk about gender equity, one of the challenges I've seen is it can often sound like an additional barrier, an additional hurdle, something that makes your life harder. And the reality is that when we start to dig in and say, well, what is really going to make the biggest difference for your business? It turns out that gender equity is often an opportunity. So there's a little bit of a perception issue to sort of help people get the data that helps them understand why it might be to their advantage to think about gender when they're designing a product or a marketing strategy. And there are other cases where it actually is a challenge. For example, we talked to one entrepreneur, a woman entrepreneur focused on workforce development in India. She wanted to promote and employ more women in management, but she found that there were genuine issues in how they structured their business, literally when people go home at night, if they bring computers with them, what kind of physical space is available, nursing facilities, that would make the difference in their ability to recruit and retain women. And those were additional expenses at the beginning. So then the question is, at what time does that investment become actually a positive return, which it does. But for so many entrepreneurs, it's those early costs that are a barrier. So our view as an investor is if we can really accompany an entrepreneur and say, we want to help you overcome those early barriers, help you build that infrastructure that can help you attract and serve women, because in the end, everybody wins. It is better for your business to have a more inclusive model, and it is ultimately going to help you fully reach the market that you want to. But we can't blindly go in and say, it's easy and it's obvious and it'll help your business right away. Sometimes there's an initial cost. And that's what we want to help entrepreneurs manage as a patient capital investor.
I think you are bringing two core elements into the table. That one is complexity. It's not easy. There are no shortcuts. And see, if we use many times shortcuts, we don't succeed, or we get maybe not what we are looking for in terms of consistency, sustainability, and many aspects. And the second element that I really like is perceptions. So many times when we work, we don't integrate the side of norms, values, culture, perceptions, or we don't know how to do it, or it's relatively more difficult. So I'm glad that you are bringing these elements that are really triggers of, when we do it right, triggers of change. So thank you. I move to the next, we are in the second round now, to Sebastian. Sebastian from Colombia, the CEO and founder of Elefa. So despite, the question for you, Sebastian, is despite the devastating effects of the pandemic across industries, your sales, and it's pretty amazing, increased over 40% in 2020, reaching more than 100 rural households. What is the key driver for success for inclusive business like yours that intentionally include women in the value chain? What are some obstacles? This is also very interesting, I think, for all of us, so we can learn how did you overcome the challenges?
Well, Raquel, I would say that I find three drivers for which women are the key factors of success in inclusive business. Number one, I find that women as an entrepreneurs show a very strong performance. And we have evidence that they show a greater willingness to repay their loans. We provide them with microcredit, and we see women are a little bit more responsible repaying the loans. Another factor that we see there as they perform better as an entrepreneurs is that because they lack so many opportunities, this is their chance to really get ahead. So they give it all. So they go 100%. The second driver that I would say drives success in an inclusive business is that we see women as colleagues and leaders of organization, and it makes it a better enterprise. For example, at Elefa, 65% of our leadership team and 80% of our colleagues are women. And this makes us a better company because 98% of our customers are women. So we need to have that empathy. The management needs to better understand what are the wants and feels of our customers. There's no other way but to have women leading us in our organization. And the third driver, I would say, women make greater impact in reducing poverty. As I mentioned it before, we define as no poverty as one of our goals, and we understand that women make a greater impact reducing poverty. They are better household managers, and they take that incremental income and invest it on healthcare, on the well-being, on education of their family. So that's helping us to bridge, to close that gap that we have in poverty. Now, let me talk a little bit about the obstacles. And I will classify obstacles in two ways. One, the unexpected. There are the ones that happen that nobody knew they were coming. And I'll just give you an example. A few months ago, we have social protests here in Colombia. We have road blockades. That was something that was not planned and you couldn't have foreseen. That takes a lot of decision to change our logistics, to become very nimble, and to find ways to overcome the challenges. We opened new warehouses, we bought transportation, and we made changes. But I will say the obstacles that for me are more like an opportunity are the ones that are more structural. And one of the obstacles that we have is to find the right partners that is going to help us deliver growth the way that we want to do it. Is how can we find those investors that truly believe in our purpose and it won't take us away from the goals that we want to achieve. So that is very important to us. And me as owner and CEO of the company, sometimes you feel like the temptation to go and just get funding for the sake of getting the money, but that's very risky. So an obstacle is to find the right partner to achieve the right goals.
I like a lot that you are putting on the table the need to walk the talk, right? Walk the talk and bring in this, what we call sometimes intangible goods, like our soft skills that for me are not soft at all, are very hard, like empathy. And also you brought the very crucial element of parity, of having women leading also at the helmet of the initiatives. And so thank you. This was very, very interesting. Even the obstacle that is more structural, right? And the temptation to divert from your own goals. So thank you for the learning that you are opening here for all of us. My next question is to Ahmed. Ahmed, remember, is CBO and co-founder of Brimor in Egypt. So Ahmed, my question is, we know that you raised 3.5 million to invest more in product development, improving data analytics and implementing smart financial solutions. So the question is, have you leveraged digital technologies to increase your social impact? Have you bridged the digital divide in your female customer base? Over to you, Ahmed.
So naturally, I have a philosophy in this, or have a concept that by design, every business creates a social impact. The question is, would this social impact is the maximum potential that you can get out of this business? This is where all the details lies. How do you design the business, and how do you exert effort to maximize the spillover effect that the business brings to all your stakeholders? So when we started in Brimor, when we saw the challenges that local manufacturers have to get to the market, and when we saw the challenges that our sellers have to work on day-to-day basis, what we realized that technology is the main enabler to scale the business. Before technology, we needed to be very strong on the ground. To cover a country like Egypt, it's a nightmare in terms of operations, logistics, warehouse, how to get to every single village when you have an order there. So what we started, we built a strong infrastructure on the ground, but we invested in technology to enable our sellers. We had to study our sellers a lot and to understand how we can maximize their business and how we can enable them to perform their business better. When we started doing so, we faced initially we faced some resistance, because not all of them were tech savvy, not all of them had smartphones, not all of them, mostly were like, they were used to just, they wanted to order through the phone or physically. And we realized that it's not about technology, it's about breaking the barrier that you can do it. And this is where we actually spend most of the effort, is how to show them that you can use this and you can maximize your business. If you talk face-to-face, you only get to 10 people maybe a day. But if you use technology, you can get to hundreds and hundreds of people per day. We started actually giving them trainings. When they liked the trainings, we told them, okay, don't you want to get certain knowledge from other people in other cities? This was Zoom calls. And later they took the solution and actually started implementing it with their friends and family. Now we have introduced microfinancing. So instead of just giving them the loan, now we have a credit history of our sellers. We have a closed loop wallet on the app where they can actually disperse the money. They can actually start ordering their products, and they can actually pay in their like next supermarket or any local shop. They can deposit the cash, and it just reflects back to their balance. So our sellers actually have been guiding us over and over. So yes, I believe we breached some gap when it came to technology solution. And I believe that in emerging economy, technology should be wise and should make great difference, but only if you have the substance and operations on the ground to support it. It doesn't make any sense to present the most tech-savvy technical solution when you don't have a strong foot on the ground, or you're not close to your customers.
Experience, Ahmed. My follow-up question, because I can see the process that you are describing is breaking your kind of individual mental barriers. Is the famous "you can do it," right? That is almost universal. My question for you is more about perceptions. We all know that in the household, at the household level, there are sometimes when we bring women into the benefits of, in this case, entrepreneur benefits or income generation benefits, there may be some tensions inside the household, right? We empower these balances, power imbalances. So, do you have any perception on how the fact that women are becoming more technological savvy or having phones, accessing to global networks inside the household, how this factor is playing in the relationships? Do you see more empowerment? Do you see some conflicts, some tensions? So what is your experience? And I'm asking you something that is very much my curiosity.
So we have this typical story in Greenmore. Like when the woman starts working with us, usually the husband is very happy because most of the time she'll get busy and just get like off his head. And then like a couple of months later, the woman starts getting money, and then the husband gets a little bit worried what's going on with this business. And then the tension rises because like the woman is just getting more and more empowered. And we have like these classical stories. I want divorce. Now I have money, I want divorce. Or like we had some other side social challenges over the country, or they have like certain parallel saving account because they want to keep this money mainly for the education of the children or for the health or for the well-being of the family. So what we saw is technology actually gave us certain leverage that when you have a closed loop wallet, actually our sellers can actually circulate the money. They can reinvest. They can actually buy and produce more products in a safe area. That's one thing. The other thing that we saw really interesting is bringing their children to the game, because most of the women are not tech savvy, and the teenagers or the children became their like supporters in the business. And we saw this classical example that woman actually gets in touch with us and tells us, okay, my little girl, she knows how to deal with the phone. She likes the products. She wants to spread it wise, and she does my business. So now she starts as her assistant. So now it's not just an individual in front of an individual. It's just a whole group starting to get together. But what we realized that it's not only enough to have the business in your mobile phone. What we're now doing, and we're investing a lot, and this is where actually IFC also came in the coming investment round that will be announced soon, that we want to upgrade their business to have also physical shops. That makes great difference in the region they work in. It brings a social empowerment, it gives social status, and more importantly, it engages the whole family in an activity. where yes, we deal with the women, but now she manages all the family and brings them smoothly in the business. And this is something we see as important as just onboarding women in the business. The social harmony in the house is really important for the sustainability of the business and the well-being of the women.
So thank you so much for illustrating so well, again, the connections, how everything is connected, the women with the household, with the community, at the center technologies like opening spaces, safe spaces and freedom, right? So I'm going to ask the last question, and we open this for the participants. Question is for Jasmina. Jasmina from Acumen, Chief Partnerships Officer. Jasmina, we know women face many financial and non-financial barriers, right? To access to capital, to grow their own businesses, exacerbated during the pandemic, for the lockdown, for the gender digital divide, for many reasons. What kind of solutions is Acumen putting in place to increase women's access to finance?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's obviously a really important barrier. I wanted to mention that I think there tends to be a lot of focus on investment. And obviously that's something we think a lot about at Acumen. But we've also seen that to help enterprises scale, the best capital for them is revenue. They want to actually grow their revenue, and investment is critical along the way. So we've been doing a project with IKEA, social entrepreneurship, SAP, EY, and others that really looks at procurement and ways to drive capital towards small, medium enterprises, social enterprises, inclusive and diverse enterprises, including businesses led by women, through procurement, and really driving that kind of revenue model and that growth opportunity. So we'll be actually announcing research that we've completed on October 5th that actually highlights examples of where this is happening. And what we've seen is that companies that are really, we think creating huge opportunities for corporations to embed inclusion, social impact, sustainability into their business are looking for these kinds of businesses that are led by more diverse entrepreneurs and tackling issues like gender equity through their business model. So encourage people to look that up. The event is called Power of Purchasing, and it's going to be on October 5th with Unisocial Business. But what we've seen from an investment lens is there are these barriers that women face in looking for capital that can start very early in terms of how women are oriented towards the opportunities that they might have, whether or not they feel like they can take the risk of raising capital. And so what we're trying to do is really reach women early in that journey, whether through Acumen Academy, where we have an online platform designed to support entrepreneurs and organization builders that's extremely accessible, because the courses that we offer are free and they really help people to develop business plans, develop sort of their process around building an enterprise. But we've also decided to launch an accelerator in East Africa with support from Global Affairs Canada that will again reach women entrepreneurs early in that journey and give them the tools, the skills, the networks that can help them overcome some of those barriers. But honestly, whenever we talk to women entrepreneurs about the barriers that they face, it's often with the investors themselves. So again, it's that perception question. So what can we do to educate investors or corporations that are looking to source to say, let's kind of not assume that having a women entrepreneur running a business or seeking capital increases risk. In fact, the data suggests that it lowers the risk and creates huge opportunities for you while we support women entrepreneurs on that journey. So I think we need to address ourselves to sources of capital, to large companies, and say, this is an untapped opportunity for you as an investor or as someone looking for suppliers to recognize all the value that women are bringing through the innovations, the business models, the creative ways that they're really building new markets. We have an entrepreneur that we're working with in India, and she's a fellow. So she's someone that we've really supported early in that journey to really bring women into the apparel industry in new ways, helping women to launch their own fashion brands. And this is in a context where women have been excluded to the detriment of the whole economy. So again, I think it's unlocking that potential and encouraging investors and large companies to recognize the opportunity at the same time.
So thank you, Jasmine. Now I'm going to open for questions from the participants, and there is one question for you. I'm going to use the opportunity to ask you, and I have another question for Ahmed. So the question is, well, first of all, I wanted to tell you that they are saying, Jasmina, impressive numbers you have presented. The question is, what would help you in most? I repeat, what will help you most in order to find and assess companies or business models to invest in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for us, one thing that we found to be really important is to have a local presence. In order to find great entrepreneurs, to work with them, to evaluate their business models, that kind of accompaniment that we think is so important. So we have offices in the places where we invest in East Africa, West Africa, Latin America, India, and here in the US as well. So I think the best thing is to figure out how do we really strengthen those local networks so that our teams on the ground are plugged in, so that local entrepreneurs know about our work. And that's really where our pipeline comes from. It's that kind of local footprint. But I do think that there are ways that entrepreneurs can really position themselves, whether it's through accelerators, through entrepreneurial networks, so that they become more visible to investors. But I think that for us is what's really made the difference is, again, having that local presence and obviously working with other great organizations. You know, when I used to be a portfolio manager, and I remember spending time with folks within the UN structure to say, you know, you have these networks all over the world. What are you seeing that is promising when it comes to market-based approaches and entrepreneurial approaches? So we really rely on that ecosystem where people are supporting new entrepreneurs to plug in and find where's that right stage when an investment from Acumen really makes sense.
So my other question from participants is for Ahmed. And I wanted to tell you too that, let me find it. Excellent job, they are saying. Just as a follow-up, a seller can sell any product, or do you select for impact too? Or maybe there is a special category? Over to you, Ahmed.
So our model is a controlled market price model. So from a supply side, we have agreements with local manufacturers we vet the quality of the product. We work on the pricing of the product. We have a wide range of products. We have 9 different categories: personal care products, home care, food and beverage, electric appliances, kitchenware items, and mobile accessories. So we select the products in advance. We vet the quality, and we align on the price and place them on the system. We tried working actually with impact-driven organizations. We have many NGOs that produce products. For us, that wasn't reliable in the business, unfortunately. Like the consistency of supply is really a challenge here. You can create a lovely business working with local women to produce maybe certain beddings or certain product. And we always ask them this question: if I order 300 units from you today, and then maybe 10 days later I order 3,000, would you be able to supply? The result is usually not, there's no consistency in supply or no management of supply because it's limited. So we had to go for local manufacturers who had unutilized capacity. And we are working now on financing solutions for these local manufacturers. I think when we crack this and we reach certain comfortable formula, we can cascade this also to impact-driven businesses that have problems in supply consistency.
Thank you so much. So I have a last question. I promise this is the last one to Ebru, but I find the question very nice, very interesting, and it can be also inspirational, a good question to close this interesting conversation. The question is for Ebru from Heinz Peter Faust. Ebru, please share your roadmap and learnings on how you grew gender equality in your engineering company. That would be very enlightening and inspiring for others in your peer group.
Thank you very much.
Over to you.
Last question. So what we are right now doing before our Turkish Women Engineers program, we are trying to increase the number of the women that we cover. I mean, the impact is everything, so we have to really put more women into the program. We are now making partnerships with other companies to include other engineers. For example, the last agreement we made, now we are putting chemical engineers into the program. We have civil engineers, we have mechanical as well, computer, environmental, electronical. So the first thing is we have to increase the number of the women in our program. Second is we are increasing the number of women that are mentors. And the third is we are trying to give them more internship opportunities, because engineers without internships or without being at site, without being at the factory, it doesn't make sense. So we try to put them into contact with more companies, and we increase internship opportunities. Of course, any education without a happy end, which is like a good job, doesn't make any sense. So this is the reason we either employ them in the company, in the projects that we have, or in the companies we have, or we have a lot of partners in our program. They share the same vision, which has to increase successful women in the program. So we are trying to put them into good jobs, but being in the job, it's not only enough for us, but we'd like to make them project managers, CEOs, board members, COOs. So our goal is really to have high level women in all these different companies. We are trying two things. One is like to build a sisterhood between the women, because at work I see that men support men. We don't see the same support from the women. So what we are doing is we are trying a sisterhood between our engineers with the current people that are working in the engineering, or the students, so that they support each other. Because what women needs is they have to be together, they have to have passion, they have to have excellence, and they have to share it, and they have to hold their hands and move each other upwards. Second is role models. So we have very successful women engineers in our group. We have very successful women engineers, engineering students. So we are trying to increase their self-confidence, because women leaders must speak confidentially. I mean, we don't see many women leaders speaking up. So if they speak up, they influence the engineers, so the engineers will also speak up. So we need role models, we need to be proactive, and wherever we find the opportunity, like I'm doing now, we need to speak up and share our views. So the first thing is to increase the number, and second is to bring them up at higher levels in everywhere. This is our flagship project. And of course, now we are moving ahead geographically. We are now in Kuwait Women Engineers Program. We are in Kosovo with different women empowerment programs. So we are moving upwards, and we're also moving horizontally. But if we increase the number, and if we create an awareness in everywhere, I think we will be successful this way. I mean, we have to have more women alongside everywhere, and we have to create a collective impact. This is the need. What we need to attract more women, more companies, and more industries to the game.
So everyone, just reaching the level of inspiration, but also very concrete in the how to do it. So you gave us such a nice and good recipe for increased number, but not only number, empowerment, right, of women in non-traditional sectors. So thank you so much. It's time to go. I wanted to say just two things. First of all, I'm very impressed that I didn't need to use my car or the Statue of the Liberty with the ice cream. So you were pretty amazing handling the time. So we need to learn from you in our organizations. But really, what I wanted to say is that what I see as a common trend across all of your companies and all of you is the commitment, the persistence, and the determination, right? So I think that the corner or the center from where this work is emanating is what we call principles, right? Value-oriented. So with this kind of driver, you have been showing very well, showcasing how do you handle obstacles and the amazing achievements that we were also able to listen and to benefit from you. So I want to just to say that I hope with this conversation we increase the appetite. We gave some lights, some flashlights on other companies, other colleagues that are here to take it forward. And thank you so much for inviting us to facilitate, and for inviting me to facilitate this conversation. But thank you for Business Call, for Action, and to all of you, definitely. Very inspiring, inspiring people, inspiring leaders, and inspiring companies. Thank you.